Joining us now is Bernard Parks, former chief of police for the LAPD and now currently a city council member in Los Angeles. Thanks so much, Councilman, for joining us here. There's been a lot of strife between citizens and police across the country with this use of deadly force. What's your take on what's happening here in the last few months?
My take is that we have put a lot of responsibility on the police to be the spokespersons for government in general. And it's my belief that the police are the only visible symbol of government at all levels who deliver the services curb to curb, 24 hours a day, and yet they hear the complaints of all the failures of the social system and government in general. And so I don't think when you listen to the public express their concerns in these public demonstrations, they're not all police related. They're talking about poverty, they're talking about housing, they're talking about the lack of medical care. These are things that are well beyond the purview and the responsibility and the wherewithal of police officers. So I think we have to look at government in general are really being pointed out through the vehicle of the police department. Unfortunately, there's a police shooting or incident that brings these things to light, and it begins to formulate in a ball to where it looks like it's all police related.
All right, point taken, but we cannot deny what we have been seeing on camera, and that is police brutality in certain cases where people have lost their lives.
Oh no, you can't deny it. I'm not excusing it, and I think a large number of the incidents that I've seen, whether it's in New York or Carolina or wherever those incidents, almost every one of them has to do with some tactical concerns where officers have put themselves in a more dangerous situation than they should be, and then they end up using deadly force. So we're not excusing it, but I think if you balance and look at what people are talking about when they're having demonstrations, it is not all about police abuse. The vehicle that brings it to our attention is unfortunately a police shooting or a police incident. But when you look at what actually occurs at those locations, whether it's Cleveland or wherever they occur, you find some officers put themselves using very bad tactics that put themselves in a very bad situation to where they felt that they were in danger and they had to use force. It doesn't justify the bad tactics, but on the other hand, I think we have to balance what people are really complaining about.
So what's the answer here? Do local and state leaders need to step up here and take responsibility and make some changes?
Well, I think there's a lot of change. I think we should see the same kind of animation in the public when they go to their local city council and find out why are the programs in Park and Rec? Why are the programs that deal with social service? Why are they being cut? Why are local governments spending 70% of their budgets on police and fire? Why has the federal government spent hundreds of millions of dollars to mitigate poverty, yet poverty is growing? Those are the places that can impact those social services. Why is medical care through the state and the county and the federal government not providing the service that are needed? That's where you find people are animated about those issues, but again, they do not come to the forefront until there is a police confrontation.
And what about youth involvement? It seems as though the youth here in America has, in some cases have all but given up on relationships with law enforcement in some particular areas in our country. How do we focus on that particular group of people and make them once again believe that these are their friends?
Well, I think first of all, we have to look at it in a larger sense. Again, youth in our communities rely on a great deal more services than just the police. The issue is, why aren't we as equally concerned if there's no programs in rec and park facilities? Why are we not concerned about activities that do not bring youth into the employment? These are things that give them a much broader view of the things that government and the community can provide, but we can't localize their only involvement with government as being the police, and then we evaluate or we calculate whether it's good or bad. The police relationships with the public and youth will be a part of the larger spectrum of dealing with social programs, park and rec, activities, education. We can't lose any of those activities out of the spectrum and only ask the police to carry the brunt of social relationships with youth.
So as a city council member there in Los Angeles, are you working to restore some of those programs that may have been abolished for funding reasons maybe, or other reasons that they just couldn't be established and kept up?
I think from my perspective, I've put a great deal of effort in making sure every one of the parks in my district has either been recently refurbished or added new equipment and materials to bring programming to the parks. We've added money to our seniors program to make sure seniors are getting funding for food and other programs. The libraries, every library in my district has been either just recently built or refurbished, so that we're bringing programming again to the youth. That every library provides community rooms, every library provides computer services, and every library provides tutoring programs in somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 or 7 subjects and about 6 or 7 languages. So those are the kinds of things that I think you have to provide a balance, and you should not be relying on the police being the only contact with your youth.
Have you seen a difference since you've established those programs?
We've seen a great difference because if you walk in our libraries now, they're like community centers. If you go in the parks, we find that people are using the exercise equipment. Many people tell us that they no longer apply or use their membership to their sports club because they can just walk out of their house, walk a block away, walk on the track, use the exercise equipment, go to the gym, play basketball, a variety of things, and then you have senior programs on the same facility. So I think you have to keep looking at ways that you engage the community in the very things that they need. And again, I think you cannot rely too heavily on the police being the only contact. I think the more you invest in prevention and intervention kinds of programs, the less you may in the long term need police officers.
Peeling back the onion, so to speak. There's a lot of layers here.
There's a lot of layers, but we have to look at it in a perspective of the broadness of the issue as opposed to narrowness, and we certainly can't be driven by incident related or violence. It's saying, now let's start all over again, or let's change the culture. All those words we hear during these issues, we need to be looking at this on a daily basis and basically looking at the broadest issue available to create youth programs and youth development, as opposed to always viewing it from gang prevention.
Former LA Police Chief and now Councilman Bernard Parks, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.